Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report, today for January the 28th of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news that you need to know from around the industry, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube and podcast services around the world. So if you enjoy the show, you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and keep coming back for more. But today we are talking about Resident Evil 8 because it seems that we have some new details about what the game is going to entail. Of course, all of this is rumor and speculation, but some industry insiders are saying this lines up with what they have heard. So that's exciting, to say the least. On top of that, we are talking about Ninja's Mixer deal that took place last year. We now know just about how much money the blue-haired streaming Goliath actually made from switching from Twitch to Microsoft's streaming platform. Then a fresh PlayStation 5 trademark is bringing a lot of rumors around that a imminent PlayStation 5 reveal could be coming. Of course, we've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, but just another little breadcrumb on the trail leading to the next console generation. On top of that, we're talking about Google Stadia Terminator coming to Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the Star Wars Battlefront headliner that is going to be coming to Xbox Live Games with Gold for February, and finally, Dying Light players get a free BR spin-off that used to be something you had to pay for. So hey, who doesn't like a good freebie if you already own the game? But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's top gaming news. First off, rumors suggest Resident Evil 8 is coming back with a first-person perspective, bringing in zombies and werewolves. It looks like Capcom has not abandoned the first-person perspective that revitalized the Resident Evil franchise just 3 years ago. According to multiple rumors, RE8 is set to bring back the perspective, zombies, Ethan Winters, and Chris Redfield. Revealed by YouTube channel Biohazard Declassified and corroborated by industry insider Nibble, the upcoming Resi sequel seems to be a much different style of horror as compared to its Texas Chainsaw-inspired predecessor. According to both leakers, the upcoming survival horror video game appears to be more varied as compared to RE7. Instead of the repetitive molded enemies of 7, 8 will see the return of new zombie enemies. Alongside zombies, as weird as this sounds, are werewolves, which is something that is entirely new. As for returning characters, Resi 8 will have both Ethan Winters and Chris Redfield. While Winters was the protagonist of the last numbered entry, Chris Redfield only appeared at the end of the game. While Redfield's role in the new entry is unconfirmed, it will hopefully be a larger part. Quote, the leak matches with stuff I've been hearing, which is why I went forward with it, Nibble posted on Twitter. The info in the video is all coming from a playtest that Capcom had some time ago apparently. As for confirmed Resident Evil titles, Capcom is currently working on releasing RE3, a remake of the 1997 game. And of course, the numbers can get confusing since we are seeing Resident Evil 2 put out after Resident Evil 7. Then we have rumors about 8 on the cusp of Resident Evil 3 coming out, and somewhere in there is Resistance, the side spin-off project that's being bundled in with 3 remake. It's a mess. It's a mess, but it's a beautiful mess because who doesn't love Resident Evil? So the first thing that I want to come out and say is that I totally believe this to be accurate because it seems like the newer numbered entries in the franchise are going in a bit of a different direction. It is going in a kind of sequential manner in a way. And my question is, will this be just connected to Resident Evil 7 by the main protagonist, or is this a continuation of the story? What's the situation here? So that's a question that is going to be existing until we actually get a reveal of RE8. But the big point that I want to make here is that Capcom has an opportunity to tap into different audiences with the different projects that they have going on right now, which I personally think is the overall plan with where Resident Evil is going in the coming years. So bear with me. 7 is a totally new take on the world of Resident Evil. I specifically remember whenever the game was revealed, I didn't even know it was a Resident Evil game until very late in the trailer whenever the actual logo popped up. There was nothing signaling this was going to be a Resident Evil game. But now there is an entirely new branch of the RE audience that is looking for this first-person horror kind of experience, and so I think that is who they are going to be catering to with 8. Now, for those that want the classic over-the-shoulder third-person action shooter horror game that we get with the classic games, you do have the remakes, Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. They're phenomenal experiences that are going to give you that classic experience with a fresh coat of paint and updated mechanics. Then There is the multiplayer sect of the Resident Evil fan base, which of course is wanting stuff that they got from Operation Raccoon City, that they got from something like Metal Gear Survive, but with the Resident Evil universe applied to it. And so then you have Resistance, which is the asymmetrical multiplayer game coming out alongside Resident Evil 3's remake. So with all of this combined, they're pretty much catering to everybody who has any inclination of liking Resident Evil, which seems to be a pretty good plan for me. I'm very interested in werewolves though. I do love a good werewolf. But regardless, those are the rumors surrounding Resident Evil 8 as it stands right now. And of course, if you want, there's an entire 4.5-minute video talking about new leaks over there on the YouTube page as aforementioned in the MS Power user article, if you did want to check that out. However, moving on, let's talk about Ninja, because he reportedly got $20 to $30 million to move from Twitch to Mixer, and he's one of several streamers to take lucrative deals to switch platforms. In August 2019, popular streamer Tyler Blevins, aka Ninja, signed an exclusivity deal with Mixer, moving away from Twitch and quickly building up a huge following on his new platform. It was clear that a lot of money must have been involved in the transaction with Mixer owner Microsoft, and now a new report is offering a ballpark figure. According to an article on CNN about streamers being offered lucrative exclusivity contracts, Ninja's deal was likely worth between $20 and $30 million. This figure comes from Justin Warden, who is the CEO of marketing and talent management company Adder, who claims to have inside knowledge of the deal. This was for a multi-year deal and still likely represents the largest deal a streamer has gotten for exclusivity. Ninja is so popular that he has his own skin in Fortnite, the game he is most famous for streaming. Back in 2014, Amazon spent $1 billion acquiring Twitch, which Mixer is in direct competition with. Other streamers who have left Twitch for Mixer deals include Shroud and Ewok, a deaf teenage Fortnite streamer, on top of King Gathalion and a few others. Mixer is just one of the streaming platforms Twitch now competes with. YouTube and Facebook Gaming are also nabbing streamers. YouTube also recently announced an exclusivity deal involving Blizzard esports live streams, which we talked about earlier in the week on an episode of the Jampack Report. And so $20 to $30 million is a pretty on-the-ball figure if I did have to guess, because Ninja, again, is worth so much money in today's day and age. Let's put it this way. Once you've been on the Ellen DeGeneres show, you might have heard of it, called Ellen, you pretty much made it. You are a household name. People know who you are. And so with the rise of Fortnite came the rise of Ninja, and he is now solidified as one of the biggest streamers in history, regardless of platform. Now, the big point that I want to make here is that for Ninja to give up his fame on Twitch, because again, one of the biggest creators on Twitch at the time that he left the platform, he would have had to have a very high amount of money offered to him because of the fact that if you were offered $20 to $30 million, that has to be more than you would make in a few years' time on Twitch, which of course that inevitably would be. And so with that being taken into consideration, I do think this is probably a pretty accurate figure, but also considering the pedigree of the source itself, somebody who is very into the world of talent management and talent acquisition, I'll believe that. And of course, CNN reporting on it, that's a pretty big name in the media as well. So if you are looking to be famous, then by all means, you grow your community, you become big on Twitch, and then you get Microsoft to buy you out and stream over there on Mixer, which, by the way, is improving in a lot of ways. I will say that I'm still keeping up with the entire streaming wars kind of thing that's been going on, and Mixer eliminating 24/7 channels that existed solely to do follow for follow and spark farming. That was a fantastic move that I think is cleaning up the platform in a pretty big way. But the question still remains, can it legitimately compete with Twitch whenever so many people are streaming, but so few people are actually watching in comparison to the number of streamers actually on the platform? That's still up in the air, but I suppose we will see as the new figures do roll out. However, you could be playing a PlayStation 5 and streaming it on Mixer if you wanted to, because a fresh PlayStation 5 trademark in Switzerland is yet another hint at an imminent reveal event, the calm before the storm. You know it, we know it, Sony knows it. PlayStation 5 will be revealed in the coming weeks. It feels like everyone is holding their breath in anticipation of the first glimpse at the next-gen console, and all signs point to a reveal event in February. The PS4 event was unveiled at its own event back in 2013, and Sony will be planning to replicate that with the PlayStation 5. A newly discovered trademark spotted by the ever-vigilant crew at Let's Go Digital sees the platform holder registering the PlayStation 5 in Switzerland. The trademark was filed just yesterday, the 27th of January 2020, and the aforementioned site Do you hear my cat? Like, come on. Are you done? I guess she's finished now. Anyways, the trademark was just filed on the 27th of January 2020, and the aforementioned side reasons it could be another sign the console will be shown off very soon. It makes sense to us and tracks with all we've heard from various places over the last few months, but what do you reckon? I think we are not going to be seeing the reveal event on February the 5th, as the predictions did show a few weeks back, but a February reveal does make sense. And I think that's something we are going to be seeing. But the more trademarks are filed, the closer we get to the release time frame of holiday 2020, the more we are going to have to see something at some point. And I think that right now there isn't a ton of pressure on PlayStation to show off their new hardware, because the hype is already there. The excitement has already been generated. Anything else that's generated on top of this is going to be pushing directly into the release. And so to be able to hold on to that tension for as long as possible just generates conversation. There's no reason for me to be talking about PlayStation 5 on today's episode of the Jampack Report, but here we are. I'm talking about the hype surrounding a reveal event that has yet to be revealed. It's generating conversation, which is exactly what the marketing department would love to do. And so we have nothing as confirmed as of yet, but a brand new trademark is pointing towards an imminent PlayStation 5 reveal. And of course, as soon as it is revealed, we'll talk about it right here on that day's episode of the Jampack Report. However, let's talk about Google Stadia, because Google has broken the Stadia silence to announce 2 games coming to Stadia Pro in February. Guilt, Metro Exodus, and no more. Google has broken its Stadia silence to announce Guilt and Metro Exodus are the free games coming to Stadia Pro in February. Guilt is a Stadia exclusive and Stadia's only current exclusive from Rhyme developer Tequila Works. Vicky Blake called it a, quote, genuinely unsettling light horror in our Guilt review over at Eurogamer. Metro Exodus is for a game's excellent post-apocalyptic adventure. Edwin gave it a recommended badge in the Metro Exodus review on Eurogamer, calling it an atmospheric, characterful voyage across a ruined Russia. Stadia Pro is the premium subscription offering for Google's streaming service. It costs about £9 a month, although 3 months are free and thrown in with the Stadia Premier Edition. For that, you get access to a handful of free games, resolution up to 4K, and discounts on some titles. The other games in the Pro library are Destiny 2 The Collection, Farming Simulator 19 Platinum Edition, Samurai Showdown, Thumper, and Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider and Samurai Showdown leave Stadia Pro at the end of January. That's a big yikes. That's it for the Stadia update. Owners had started to grumble at the lack of updates from Google. Its previous update came in the middle of January when it promised more than 10 Stadia-timed exclusives by July 2020 and more than 120 games coming to Stadia in 2020 alone. Google has yet to name the games. Still absent is the ability to play in 4K in a browser, any assistant functionality, the ability to use Stadia on a non-pixel Android phone, use Stadia on any iOS phone, family sharing, or a release date for Stadia Base, the free version of Stadia. This is a horrible way to go about doing your press releases for Stadia, because right now, I don't think anybody genuinely cares about what games are going to be included for free with the Stadia Pro subscription, because so many of the core foundational features of Google Stadia have yet to be delivered on. There is no reason to talk about the fact that, oh boy, Metro Exodus is free, when in reality, I can't even play in 4K in a browser. I can't even use this on an iOS device. Do you know how many people use iOS devices? Millions around the world. On top of that, how many people are actually running a Google Pixel? So basically, the mobile version of this entire application is completely and totally useless to the majority of mobile users. And on top of that, family sharing, absent entirely. Free version of Stadia, the Stadia Base, completely gone. It's a horrible time for Google Stadia, and I think this is pretty much just a self-fulfilling prophecy of how this thing is never going to work out in the way that Google hoped, in the way that so many fans had hoped. But with Project xCloud, it looks like cloud streaming could still be a big part of the future, but right now, I think Google really did a big hit and a miss on this one. But I'm not going to be completely negative. If you do have Google Stadia and you do have a Pro subscription, then these games are pretty solid, especially Metro Exodus. That is, if you can get it to run on a device that you own, and if you don't mind playing in 1080p on a browser, such a loss. However, maybe you want to play Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Good news, the Terminator is coming to the game this week. The live event starts Thursday. Fearsome time-hopping robo-hunter the Terminator is, for reasons, making its way to Ghost Recon Breakpoint in a new live event later this week. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the Terminator event, for those wishing to refer to it in full, begins this Wednesday, the 29th of January, and there is in truth little else to add at this point. I want to make it very clear, they chose to call this entire event Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint - the Terminator event. Okay, everything we know about the event at present can be found in Ubisoft's newly released teaser trailer, which scoots about a moonlit landscape, corpse, and delivers a brief spot of pyrotechnics, then wraps things up before showing even a glimpse of the Terminator. The assumption, though, is that Ghost Recon Breakpoint's latest offering will bear some resemblance to the Predator event introduced in Ghost Recon Wildlands back in 2017. That one intended to celebrate the Predator movie's 30th anniversary, but still a rather left-field inclusion, and tasked players with defeating the legendary intergalactic Apex Hunter. Back in October, Ubisoft announced plans to radically overhaul Breakpoint, which was not, it is fair to say, particularly well received at launch. The Terminator limited time event was teased as the final element of that initial 4-month spanning Episode 1 roadmap. There is currently no indication of what might be due in Breakpoint's imminent future post-Terminator, but Ubisoft previously confirmed that the AI teammate feature announced last year's E3 is still underway, even though it would require time before release. And so there's still so much to talk about when it comes to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I can't get to the, hold on, let's see if I can find it. Ghost Recon Breakpoint Terminator, sure. And there we go, 6 hours ago via PlayStation. So this is cool. I like the idea. And of course, I'm a big Terminator fan myself. I watched T2 religiously as a child. And so I do have a connection to this character. But the question here is why? You know, what good is this in the world of Ghost Recon Breakpoint? I suppose you have to keep the content flowing and you have to maintain interest in the game and give people a reason to come back. But in a game that is so clearly not what it needs to be to fulfill the expectations of fans right out of the gate, I don't know. I feel like that should have been postponed, and maybe whenever the fan base tends to grow a bit more, you could bring this back and say, here's the Terminator live event. But at the same time, this could be a way to get people back into the game, to get people to buy the game for the first time, which has been on sale in a drastic way over the course of the past few months, and then they'll stick around to see what else is included with the future of the Terminator / Ghost Recon crossover or the game in general itself. Now, this trailer, however, I will say looks super cool. And on top of that, it does make sense considering what the game actually is, where there is this tech firm that is kind of taking over this island. It makes sense that it could be, you know, like a Skynet kind of situation. So I'm definitely down for that. Seems interesting, and I like the aesthetic of it all. I don't know if it'll work out, but I'm going to drop it a like, and we're going to hope for the best. However, if it doesn't, there is still plenty to play. And on top of that, you've got some free games with gold coming to Xbox in February, including the headliner, the OG Star Wars Battlefront. Microsoft has announced February's Xbox games with gold titles. On Xbox One, gold members can download TT Isle of Man for free through the end of the month of February. Martin reviewed TT Isle of Man on Eurogamer in 2018, giving it a recommended badge. Quote, a middling racer in a dreary package that contains one of the finest achievements in the racing genre in years, he wrote. Also on Xbox One, Call of Cthulhu is free to download from the 16th of February to the March 15th. Donlin wrote about Cyanide's role-playing survival horror game, saying it's Lovecraft by the Shovel Lobe. On 360, we have Fable Heroes, which is free to download from the 1st to the 15th. And of course, Fable Heroes is Lionhead's 2012 Fable spinoff that came out on Xbox Live Arcade. And finally, from the 16th of February to the 29th, gold members can download Star Wars Battlefront for free. This is the 2004 Pandemic Studios game. And of course, Star Wars Battlefront is a success and the best Star Wars action game we have played since Rogue Leader, ex-Eurogamer editor Tom Bramwell wrote in the 8 out of 10 review. And I played the ever-loving poo out of this one as a kid, so I'm definitely going to be picking that one up for sure. Overwhelmingly, month for Xbox Live games with gold, though, as it tends to be. I feel like Xbox Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate take such a huge amount of wind out of the sales of Live, because it used to be a big deal when any game was given away for free, but now whenever you have stuff like The Witcher 3 just being thrown in there with the Xbox Game Pass subscription, when you've got Halo and Forza and these brand new games that are coming out and launching directly on Game Pass, like Halo Reach on PC, it really does kind of ask, why continue to do games with gold? But there are so many people that just have Live and that just have gold that don't have Game Pass, so I still understand, but man, just not what it used to be. Of course, tons of games have been given away for free over the past 5 years, so no one can really complain, but I digress. Finally, Dying Light players can get its Battle Royale spinoff for free. Fight the living and undead in Dying Light Bad Blood. Dying Light, Techland's up-close and personal zombie killer, is celebrating its 5th anniversary this year. Since launch, it has had 5 years of great support from Techland. Continuing that tradition, all players have been given a freebie. If you own Dying Light on PC or console, you can grab a free copy of Dying Light Bad Blood. I'll be honest, I thought it was dead, the author says. The Battle Royale spinoff launched in early access back in 2018, and it was pretty good too. Instead of 100 players, there are just 12, but they are joined by countless zombies and hives that you need to destroy so you can level up. The small scale focus on melee and the return of Dying Light's excellent parkour made it stand out from the other battle royales. Unfortunately, it never caught on. After a small spike at launch, daily player numbers quickly dipped below 100, and for the last year, you would be lucky to find enough people for just one 12-person game. Techland has been quiet on the subject of Bad Blood for almost a year now and has not updated it since March. It's a shame since it had some promise, but hopefully the free offer will inject some life into it. Already it has had an effect. According to Steam charts, it's almost back to its peak player count at launch, with 347 people playing together as of an hour ago. It is not a dizzying number, but more than enough to get a bunch of games going. I might have to pop back in for old time's sake. To get your free copy, all you need to do is visit Techland's site, log in or register, and then link whatever account you bought Dying Light on. Once you are done, you will get a Steam code for Bad Blood. Techland is still working on Dying Light 2 as well, but recently delayed the sequel and did not indicate when it would appear. This is not bad. Of course, it's a free game if you already own Dying Light, which so many people already own Dying Light, and if you ever want to inject life back into any game, just make it free to play. Even the smallest free-to-games have at least some semblance of a community, because again, they're free, and people get addicted to things that are free. Of course, Dying Light Bad Blood, pretty much a spin-off of Dying Light, which has a good, solid foundation to begin with, and then it definitely works. It's not a bad game, it's just there if you do want to play it, and of course, why wouldn't you want to at least add it to your Steam library if you already have Dying Light? Which is why I'm talking about it here right now. So if you own the game, be sure to go on techland.com and redeem the game itself and add it to your Steam library. Again, it's free. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about today's news. Of course, are you going to be picking up Resident Evil 8? I would love to hear your thoughts about that and how you felt about Resident Evil 7. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.